welcome to Mr. Randy's Wine and Spirits. I am Mr. Randy, and we're back here again with another full episode. An episode of a full review for a bottle. Now, if you're new to the channel, hello, welcome. Come on in, get comfortable, enjoy the show. All my return viewers, you know how it is. Good to see you. Come on in, let's have a pour, shall we? So here we are, halfway through the bottle. Now, one caveat about this process is that if you're only familiar with whiskey, you understand that libations, they don't keep all the same. So a good whiskey or a more higher proof whiskey will stay on a shelf for long periods of time. Some people claim a couple years, in fact, which I don't think a whiskey should sit on a shelf for years. I believe it's there to be drank and not to be kept. So you're only borrowing it, okay? You're renting it for a short period of time. You pay for it, you take it in, you got to give it back. So here we are, halfway through. I have some information on this Bacardi rum, Superior white rum. So it says that it was matured or whatnot in American white oak. It doesn't say if it was charred or not. I would say probably not if it's American white oak. This does come in at 40% ABV. So it's an 80 proof rum. Made in Puerto Rico. Okay. Get a quick look at the back there. Not for underage, so please enjoy responsibly. So let's go ahead and get a pour on this while we continue. So this is a 375 milliliter bottle. I paid just under, oh, that's great. That's real great. You were looking somewhere else and you made a mess. Anyway, so I paid just under $5 for this 375 milliliter bottle. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of information can be scrubbed up for this white. I got more information on the gold than I did for this. I do know that this was started in 1862 in Cuba. Yeah. And that more people tend to have the white rum mixed in with their light cocktails than they would the gold, because we found out through testing and whatnot that the white rums are less flavorful. They have less sort of robustness to their characters for the palate, but not too bad on the nose. So let's go ahead and wipe that off real quick. Very clear. Viscosity is, meh, it's okay. On the nose, it's pretty much straight ethanol. It seems like there's very, very, very light botanicals. Like I said, can't really tell you. Everything I looked at didn't want to tell me anything about what's in it, other than where it came from, how it was made, and a little bit of heritage information. But, you know, that happens sometimes. Sometimes maybe I'm not looking in the right places. I look until my brain goes numb. But out of almost 2 dozen websites that I went to, they all pretty much were standard copy and paste. The actual straightforward Bacardi website offered a little more detail, but not a whole lot. So on the nose is very light, but also kind of nice. But let's go ahead and get it on the palate. Yeah. It's really light. There is flavor, there is character, there is quality, but everything is like on a lower scale. It's really low. This is definitely something I would not be drinking neat. Some people can just straight up drink rum. I do remember doing so in my earlier years when I was into rum. I do remember, but I was more of a Captain Morgan kind of guy. I did drink plenty of Bacardi. I will tell you that much. I drank plenty of Bacardi. But I ultimately ended up on the Captain Morgan side. So I would say the nose is giving me a little bit more joy than the palate. But let's go ahead and let's get a finish on this. I do apologize. There's a little bit more strength on the finish here. Coming right off, there's a little bit more strength. I say 3 out of 5. I was on a train of thought and I got derailed. We were speaking about the spirit or the libation in the bottle and how it decays. The more alcohol per volume that you have in the libation, the longer it's going to keep. Like a whiskey, a higher proof whiskey over 100 proof will probably keep a lot longer than anything under 100 proof. Most whiskeys cut out of the whiskey range at under 80%. And that's where you come into the flavored liqueurs. We're not going to get into that just yet, but we're going to stay in the realm of the idea we're talking about here. So now you have whiskeys. Whiskeys stay longer in the bottle. Some whiskeys better than others. That depends on what else is going on with that spirit. So if you have a finished whiskey, the longer you have that whiskey finished, there's more of that extra organic compounds you have in it. Like wine. Wine has a more higher level of particulates per milliliter. So there's more of that organic material that's undistilled, that's in the libation, that will decay, and it will kind of sour and rot, and it'll turn everything else down. And you don't want to drink it after a certain part, which brings us to wine. Wine that's a fire truck. Okay, yeah, it's a fire truck. I was like, wait, are they coming for me? Are they coming for me? Hide the stuff quickly. Back on track. Wine is a high level of ppms, so there's a lot more of organic material in the drink, so that can basically go rancid a lot faster. I know it's a bit of a science thing, and it's hard for sometimes you to wrap your heads around these other levels of the libations, but let's move on. Rum, on the other hand, rum is not quite the same as whiskey, nowhere near the type of wine. So with rum can keep a lot longer before it goes in rancid. And that will depend on the type of rum and how they mature it. If they're maturing it in straight, stripped, like white oak casks, then it's going to be able to stay a lot longer. However, when you remove it from the barrel and you put it in the bottle, that's when the maturing and the aging process kind of like halts, it stops. Or it's so slow that it's barely recognizable. Unlike wine, for instance, wine is still going. It may have been slowed down, but it has not been arrested. It has not stopped. It is going to continue to age because of all that extra organic compound that's in the libation. So it will go rancid over a small period of time. Whiskey, longer periods on the shelf. Other libations, you start getting shorter and shorter and shorter until you get down to wine and then juice. These things, if you add preservatives, you're going to be able to keep it a little longer, but you're basically not going to call it juice anymore. That being said, back to the Bacardi. So the finish gave out about a minute ago. I apologize on that. The finish gave out about a minute ago. Although there is a little bit of lingering effect on the back of the mouth, up top of the esophagus. Like I said, there was an initial burst of intensity, like a 3 out of 5. It quickly dissipated roughly within 30 seconds, lingered around for about another minute after that. Nothing special going on. Like I said, not a lot of flavor characters coming out of a white rum. Just is what it is. It's good for light mixing and light cocktails and stuff like that, where you don't want to taste the liquor in your drink. You want the effects, but not any of the flavor. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. You do you, I do me. We all get happy. So my fair score, considering that it is a rum, not a whole lot going on with it. Rum is relatively inexpensive. For what it is, I'm going to say it's I'm going to say a weak 3 out of 5. Like I said, Bacardi is fine and all. I prefer Captain Morgan. I'm going to be branching out, trying a whole bunch of different rums, because there are a lot more today than there was back in the old days. So I'd say, yeah, that'll be fine. My fair price, I'll leave it alone. There's no sense in messing with that. $5 for that bottle. I guess if that's what you want, and it's a good price, I've seen other bottles that are a lot more than that for the same size. and some of them were not even as good as this one. We're not going to talk about those. So a white rum is good for cocktails and lighter drinks and whatnot. Would I buy this again? No, because there's plenty other more to try out there, and you know how Mr. Randy does. I always want to try something new every single time. So let us know what you think in the comments, and as always, thanks for stopping by here at Mr. Randy's Wine and Spirits. You have a good one.